Hello, welcome to another handy lesson. And in this lesson, we're going to talk about learning disorders. Okay, first, we're going to go through different disorders of learning processes, which are dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, the central auditory process disorder, aphasia or dysphasia, and nonverbal language disorders. Let us start. The first one here is dyslexia. Okay, this is the most common learning disorder that we can find, and it is basically a disorder that affects the ability of students to read, spell, write, and speak. Kids who have this disorder are often smart and really hardworking, but they have trouble connecting the letters they see to the sounds that those letters represent. Usually, just like the image that you're seeing here, this is something similar to what a dyslexic kid will read. And they usually refer to the texts as if the letters were dancing. So this is the first learning disorder. The second learning disorder is dyscalculia. Okay, so we have dyscalculia. This is a disorder in which kids have trouble with creating the normal mathematical procedures and understanding those organized processes. Okay, so they have problems with counting, calculations, numbers like numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and follow the sequence, right? Measures, reading time, for example, and memorization. So this will be like most of the most common symptoms of dyscalculia. The next learning disorder is dysgraphia, which has to do with the writing skills. All right, this is a disorder of a written expression that impairs writing ability and fine motor skills. It is a learning disability that affects children and adults and interferes with practically all aspects of the writing process, right? Including the spelling, the legibility, word spacing, and sizing of the letters and words, and of course the expression. The next learning disorder is dyspraxia. Okay, dyspraxia is also known as motor learning difficulties, perceptual motor dysfunction, and developmental coordination disorder. This means that a person or a kid with dyspraxia has problem with gross motor abilities, gross and fine motor abilities, concentration and focusing attention, right? Communication to express him or herself properly. It has problem with interrelationships, right? Because they have poor listening, they have difficulty on getting ideas and expressing their ideas on paper and also in the speech form. They are affected by the background noise, right? So everything that could be a distractor affects these people a lot. Okay, so this is basically dyspraxia. Then we have the central auditory processing disorder, or CAPD, right? The auditory processing disorder, APD, is a hearing problem. Uh, so the kids with this condition can't process what they hear in the same way that other kids do. So, and this is because the ears and their brain do not fully coordinate. Therefore, they cannot understand properly what you're saying. They listen to sounds, but they cannot process the meaning of those sounds. So this is a CAPD, the central auditory processing disorder. Then we have dysphasia or aphasia. Both words mean the same. It is just that dysphasia is a term used in North America and aphasia is a term used in practically the rest of the world. But it means the same. It refers to the same learning disorder. This is a language disorder that occurs when the areas of the brain responsible for turning thoughts into spoken language are damaged and you cannot speak properly, right? So you are thinking about the ideas, but the process of bringing those ideas into spoken language does not occur. So people with dysphasia often have difficulty with verbal communication. So this is caused by brain damage. It could have been created by strokes, by some damage in the head, um, something like that, an accident. It could create dysphasia. Finally, we have the nonverbal language disorders. This means that, when we have language, we don't only use verbal communication. Most of the time, we communicate more and express more with body language and other type of communication, such as visual language, right? So a person with a nonverbal language disorder is not really able to understand body language and other type of communication that has nothing to do with language, verbal communication. Okay, so this is like one of the last disorders here. It is important, though, to say that as English teachers, as language teachers, we are not psychologists nor doctors. So um, we cannot create or we cannot say a diagnostic to any kid. We could just observe, be aware of these possible learning disorders, and if necessary, refer the kids or our students to the proper authority, or in this case, to a psychologist, right? So it is important to understand that we cannot say that a person has any of these disorders because we will be creating a diagnostic. We can only observe, have the idea, observe the symptoms, and refer the student to the proper person. Now it is time to practice, and on this practice you can click on the link and it's going to prompt you to a quizzes website, which I will recommend you to click on the flashcards, and rather than practice the already learned knowledge that we have seen in this video, you will learn more about learning disorders. Okay, and of course you can click on any of the links in the reference guide so you can read more about every single one of the learning disorders we have checked in this video. Okay, thank you very much for attending this handy lesson, and I will see you in the next.